North Korea, I think that North Korea's motivations as a whole are simply because the only way that his regime retains power is by having a big, common, scary enemy.
That's right.
If America wasn't the enemy, he wouldn't have power anymore. His family retains power on fear. And the fear is that we're going to get invaded, we're going to get attacked, and we have to all stick together. And this is where his patriotism and his nationalism comes from. So this is his motivations. He knows he has two choices. He either goads America or his whole family loses his position in the ruling class.
Andrew Tate's our guest, ladies and gentlemen, multi-time world champion kickboxer in multiple top world leagues, and a super smart guy who I just want to try to randomly get on different topics to get his take here because he's really smart. You can also, where is the best place for people to follow what you're doing? At Cobra Tate on Twitter. Where's the best place for folks to check out all the things you're doing?
Yeah, Twitter, absolutely.
I've been doing the talking here, but pulling back, just looking at the general atmosphere of all of this, if the NFL's main audience is conservatives and it's the American game, how do you get away with attacking the anthem and demonizing America and saying it's white supremacist and all this ridiculous crap when minorities are now the majority in most areas, are about to be the majority everywhere? Don't they get they're being cheated out of the birthright that, okay, you had the kids, you helped build the country. If you're all into demographics only, when whites have stopped doing that, and especially white Christians that, helped launch the whole thing worldwide to end slavery, England, started it all, why then won't you take your birthright? Why hate it? And that's why the globalists are doing this. They're making sure minorities, right as they become the majority, don't take their birthright.
I think that's absolutely correct. And another thing I think this has a large part to play in is the absolute destruction of patriotism. Patriotism is extremely important. Nobody's going to go to war and fight. Nobody's going to even care about the street they live on. No one's going to clean up after themselves if you have no patriotism. And to destroy patriotism at a ground level, that's exactly what this NFL garbage is about, to attack patriotism as a whole and to try and create a country where people will just allow anything to go down. They don't care what happens for their future. They don't care what happens to their kids. They don't care what happens to the country. They'll just, I'm a person. I'm not necessarily an American. So however this goes down, it goes down. This is an absolute attack on patriotism. When you destroy patriotism, you no longer have the ability to create warriors in the name of your country. When you cannot create warriors for any reason, how can you last in the long term? Name one society since the dawn of time that survived without warriors. It's absolute madness. They're attacking patriotism as a whole at the heart. And they think that by attacking patriotism and destroying it, they're going to be left with a populace who are just out for themselves, don't care about the country or the future of the country, and they can literally do anything they want from a lawmaking perspective especially. And that's exactly where this comes down to. This is just about destroying people's national pride so they can just ruin the country, make themselves rich, and go on their yacht in Monaco. They don't care about America.
Andrew Tate, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been looking for somebody, and I don't tell other guests this. Everybody knows that watches. When they do say great stuff, I tell them, hey, I really agree with you. But somebody who has an innate instinct for what's happening, you've definitely just have a way of crystallizing it and absolutely bring it to the fore right there, because what you just said is total veritas. That's it. And when you read their documents, I don't know if you have, they say we're demoralizing them to make them selfish little idiots that we control, knowing that that's going to turn everybody into slaves. But these little selfish idiots think they're getting ahead doing this, and they think getting on a media bandwagon and virtue signaling gives them power when they're blowing up the lifeboat they're sitting in.
That's absolutely correct. And I think a lot of my experience comes from, I've lived in a lot of different countries. I've traveled to a lot of different countries. And in Eastern Europe, where they're still very, very patriotic, none of this shit goes down. They don't have the immigrant problems. They don't have the terrorism problems. None of these problems, because they say, if they try that in my country to my people, we'll do something instantly. Whereas if you look in Western Europe, where people have completely thrown patriotism away, if you're a soldier in England and you walk down the street, no one respects you. They look at you and think, well, why did he do that for that little money? Like, you're almost mocked for being a soldier. It's a stupid person's job. And this is exactly what they're trying to achieve in America, so they can do the same things they've done to Western Europe. We're just flooded with immigrants. Wages never increase while prices have doubled in the last 5 years. Everyone's on the, it's gone, absolutely gone to hell. It's not safe anymore. And this is exactly what they're trying to do in America, the same thing.
And let's be clear, they've exploited the third world, then they bring in the third world to exploit and destroy the first world. because they want to hold everybody down, and they admit it. It's so cold-blooded. I mean, Apple contracts the worst factories on purpose, and it's come out that the factories go, just pay us enough, and we will give them better standards. We're getting heat on this. And Apple says, no, we want maximum profit. But because they say they're liberal, it's okay to have factories with forced drugging, forced abortion, and suicide nets. It's just crazy how evil liberals are. And here's an article Paul Watson wrote a year ago. New study confirms liberals are far more intolerant of other people's opinions, and it links to mainstream studies. There's a bunch of other studies. They're 6 times more likely to steal, 9 times more likely not to give to charity, but like, what is it, 15 times or something, you have to read it, more likely to tell you they gave to charity, though. What they are is a bunch of fake pieces of crap.
Absolutely, because they don't live in the real world. If you live in the real world with a logical mindset, it's near impossible to not think along a conservative line. If you live emotionally in some fairy tale planet, then you're going to end up being a liberal, because you cannot apply logic to a liberal mindset. It simply doesn't work. And the most dangerous thing about it is this liberalism is spiraling out of control, especially in Western Europe. In Germany, the election just happened yesterday. Merkel got in again. How did Merkel get in again after all these terrorist attacks and refugee crises? Well, I'll tell you why. Every German I've spoken to did not vote for Merkel. Every single immigrant voted for Merkel. And that's what they're doing. This is what the liberals do. They allow, if you're an immigrant from a far-flung country,
they import their voting bloc. I mean, Democrats all over the U.S. are legalizing illegals voting from California to Maryland. Then they tell you, oh, we don't want voter ID laws. It's a conspiracy that illegals are voting. The Democratic Party in Illinois passed a law to let them vote, but the governor couldn't sign it because it was a felony.
Absolutely right. And this is what they're doing. And it's so pertinently obvious. And especially in Western Europe, America still has a chance. And I'm dual British and American. And when I see these kind of things like the NFL going down, I see exactly what they're trying to do by destroying patriotism in America. Because in Western Europe, there is no patriotism left. Terrorist attack after terrorist attack after terrorist attack. People have no sense of pride in their own people.
Well, there's not even self-preservation.
No, absolutely not. Everyone's out for themselves. Well, I didn't get hit by that truck, so it doesn't matter if other people from Spain.
They have no empathy. So again, it's beyond nationalism's a form of empathy that it's your country, like you said, you're connected. They take that away. It brings in selfishness. And the millennials, not all of them, some of them are the best people out there, but they are so damn selfish. But so many older folks are selfish too. It's just like they think being selfish pigs, and by selfish, only caring about themselves gets them ahead. They're idiots.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. And they have zero interest in society as a whole, zero interest in where their children to be raised, zero interest in defend. Heaven forbid they had to defend the country they live in. Never in a million years. In Western Europe, they have a massive problem trying to even get anyone to join the military. No one wants to die.
That's right. They have to have the U.S. come over. They have to have the U.S. and England come over and do it. The U.S. and England do like 75% of it because they can't even get men to go do it. The men don't even want to fight.
Absolutely right. And then they want to criticize America for getting mixed up in everyone else's problems when America is the only person who's capable of policing some of these psychos. And this goes on to North Korea, same thing. Everyone's saying, well, why has America got a problem with North Korea? Who else is going to put their foot down and stop this guy before he has long-range nuclear weapons? You cannot, if you're going to engage him and he's intent on war, you have 2 choices. You engage him before he has nuclear weapons or after he has nuclear weapons. These are your 2 choices.
And the Democrats and the globalists gave him the nuclear weapons to appease, knowing what they were doing. And then now it's Trump's fault when he's saying, we will preemptively strike you. We're going to hit you. They're firing missiles every week over Japan.
Yep.
I mean, let me ask you that question. What the hell? Talk about entitlement. Kim Jong-un, 3rd-generation dictator, royalty. He can hardly walk. He looks like a little pig demon, and he's up there shooting his mouth off to the whole world. I don't want war. I've got 4 children. I know Russia and China could come in on this, but why the hell would Russia and China want to sit there and back North Korea when they're completely psychotic?
North Korea, I think North Korea's motivations as a whole are simply because the only way that his regime retains power is by having a big, common, scary enemy.
That's right.
If America wasn't the enemy, he wouldn't have power anymore. His family retains power on fear. And the fear is that we're going to get invaded, we're going to get attacked, and we have to all stick together. And this is where his patriotism and his nationalism comes from. So this is his motivations. He knows he has 2 choices. He either goads America or his whole family loses his position in the ruling class. So he decided.
That's right. If he doesn't act vicious and evil and kill his own family members and launch missiles, those psycho generals below him will remove him. In fact, that's what the top analysts have said. You're dead on. It's incredible. And he doesn't get, though, the United States will strike them. And everybody else better get that through their head.
Well, this is the difference, because when he was running his mouth and we had Obama, who, let's be honest, Obama wasn't worth much. He was nothing but a virtue signaler himself. He liked to stand out there and play basketball and pretend he was a cool guy, but he wasn't man enough to do what needed to be done. It's easy to send threats at Obama all day because Obama doesn't care. Obama's just going to roll over. Trump's man enough to say, look, enough of this. It's gone on long enough. You can't continue to threaten the world. You can't continue to progress a nuclear weapons program without there being some kind of serious repercussion.
Well, let me give folks... Absolutely. Let me give folks...
Completely right.
And Andrew Tate, let me give folks the big news. When they did these B-2 bomber dry runs over the weekend over the DMZ to simulate dropping hydrogen bombs on the DMZ, which you have to wipe out if a war starts, that's where their main force is. This was to elicit the North shooting SAM missiles. And if they'd have done it when this happened Friday night, the war would have started. So that's why suddenly they're really freaking out, because Trump is now basically asking them to fire the first shots. I hope North Korea is smart enough to back down right now.
Yeah, so do I. Absolutely, because it leads to the absolute destruction of their country. They don't stand a chance militarily. I think the people who are going to suffer most from this war is probably the South Koreans. The South Koreans are going to take damage. The South Koreans are going to have a real, hard time. And the South Korea in itself is an amazing country. You have to remember, when the North and South split in the 1950s, they both had the same GDP per capita as Yemen. And now South Korea is one of the richest countries in the world 60 years later. So they've done amazing things. And they're going to suffer big time at the artillery shells and the short-range weaponry that North Korea has.
And you notice, exactly, Trump just had this big meeting with the South Koreans and the Japanese. They're all in total unison, giving the U.S. authorization and backing to launch even a preemptive strike. I just hope North Korea understands this isn't like the last 50 years. There's a loaded gun pointed right at their head. It's like Douglas MacArthur was president right back to 1953. I don't know they understand that.
No, absolutely right. And this has to happen. If this regime is going to continue to test weapons in depth, look, we've tried sanctions, we've tried condemning, they don't care. It doesn't matter how much you sanction him, he's never going to be hungry. His people will be hungry, and his people are brainwashed. He's still fat, he doesn't care, he has his food. So the sanctions aren't going to do a thing. He is intent on getting nuclear weaponry. So you have two choices. You fight him, you're man enough to do the preemptive strike, they either completely roll over, which is extremely unlikely, or we wait 10 years from now where they have the actual ability to nuke mainland America. Then you're in trouble. So now, if there's going to be a war, it absolutely has to happen now. And I'm glad we have a man in the White House who's man enough to understand those realities.
Well, I got a lot of top analysts that were against all these other wars. They say this one's real. That's why I'm backing whatever the president has to do, because just 16 minutes ago, BBC, North Korea announced that the U.S. has declared war, and they're now in a state of war. They're basically they're announcing that they're ending the ceasefire of July 27th, 1953. So it looks like that these nuts want to go ahead and get a war going, because they understand Trump is flying aircraft over North Korea now. So they want a war. I guess they're going to have to get it.
Absolutely. And it's a good thing that American patriotism has not been destroyed yet. And we still have young men who are brave and honorable enough to go and get the job done. And they should be respected by the NFL brats who get paid far too much money to play a game. It's almost angering that the world has gotten to this state. I don't know how we ended up where we've ended up, but 50 or 60 years ago, if you were to try and explain modern world problems to anyone back then, they'd be like, that's not how
If you told people 20 years ago they're going to be having all the players not come out for the national anthem while we're almost at war with North Korea,
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And like you said, even only 20 years ago, people would not have stood for it. And now we're in a situation where more and more people are just letting things slide, letting small freedoms slide, letting these blatant disrespects slide, thinking, oh, it's only a game. This is not only a game. This is patriotism of your country.
Well, here's the question in closing for all the marbles for our amazing guest, Mr. Tate. China and Russia. First, a month ago, they were signaling, hey, we're if the U.S. has hit North Korea, we're going to stand down. Now they're signaling China's like, no, we may do something. We kicked the Japanese out of China. We even let them take over, let the communists in. Yeah. We've given them all our jobs. What the hell? I mean, why would they have a nuclear war with us, even though we'll defeat them I hope Russia stands down because, I mean, this will end the planet. What is the problem? They need to back us.
They absolutely should. And everything in life is a power grab. They see the opportunity for a power grab. It's how it goes in business. It's how it goes in the world, how it goes in politics. They see America not in a weakened state militarily, but we are in a weakened state as a people. For all the things you've been discussing in this show, I've watched the whole way through. When you have all this race war, which is propagated by the left, these people who are playing a game and they don't want to respect their own flag, when they see the population of America no longer is unified and they see the absolute divides, they see a chance for a power play. And this is why it's so important when I was saying things like the NFL, it's more than just a game. The Chinese are sitting there saying, most Americans don't even love America. You know, we can do this, we can pull this off. Most Americans don't even care if America loses. And this is what they're broadcasting to the world. All these hip-hop stars and Hollywood celebrities who are constantly crying about Trump not respecting the leader of their country. This is the exact kind of problems they are bringing to our doorstep. If every single American was backing Trump, a strong leader, China would never for a second be.
That's absolutely right. They know there's a fifth column of globalists, a fifth column of multinationals that are already allied with China. You got the Lloyd Blankfein, the head of Goldman Sachs, making fun of America, saying your infrastructure is going to fail. China's the future. This is tweets. I mean, they've sold out to these authoritarian regimes. They want authoritarianism here. They think we're a joke. They hate flyover country. They have no respect for anything. These globalists are destroying their own firewalls for nation states. And when things fall apart next time, there'll be no nation like America or others to come back and save them. They're so stupid and have forgot all these lessons, these corporate chiefs, and now they've appeased North Korea. Now it's coming to a head, and it's total megalomania. It's an incredible time to be alive. Andrew Tate, thank you so much for spending all this time with us. People can follow you there on Twitter, and they should, @CobraTate. I want to invite you to call the producer anytime you want to come on. I'd like to invite you on routinely to be a commentator. You're really amazing guy. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Just in the minute we have left, I know you're semi-retired right now. I guess all fighters that are already world champion 3 or 4 times in a row do that. But what are you working on these days?
Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it, and I always stay in tune with your information and your network, and you do a fantastic job battling against the fake news. We've exposed them time and time again. Nowadays, I travel Europe a lot. I do, I learn a lot of things. I go all around the world, and I just keep myself to myself at the moment. Try not to upset too many people with the truth, but really you're doing a fantastic job, Alex, and I'd love to be a guest again.
All right, God bless you, my friend. Andrew Tate. Wow. Okay, we're going to go to break, and I'm going to come back, and I always say I'm going to give the number out, and then I never get to your calls because there's so much to cover. We got so much other breaking news. I've got 4 children, and this country's not perfect, but it's so much better than most of the other nations, 99%, and we're under such attack. And Russia's under attack as it's sovereign and being nationalistic now, and I just... to see these idiots siding against the country when we're trying to relaunch and reboot the country while we're under total attack, and everything's on the line here. Forget Super Bowl stuff. This is for the big game of life, and they got these idiots that don't know which side to be on, and it makes me angry.
Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine. If you're interested in healthy thyroid, if you're interested in well-being, if you're interested in having a higher IQ, which this has been linked to, get your powerful Survival Shield X2 at InfoWarsStore.com.